No,
No, it's a choice.
it's a choice. Gee, I thought I was going to spend more time on
Yeah, all right,
transportation
well,
than food
hey,
service.
on to transportation.
I'm hungry.
Okay, transportation.
Pizza at 7.
We'll start with SPED Transportation. SPED Transportation, we had a very great start. Lucky enough, we had the summer to work with Whaling City to get the summer going, for them to get used to the kids. I have not spoken to Whaling over this last week and a half to find out if their new vans are in. We have had no problems at all. I think Ann, we've had no problems with special ed transportation. They've, been very helpful. They've tried to work with as much as possible on everything, and I have not received, other than the first week of them starting for summer school, not knowing the families, not knowing the kids, and the pickups and times, SPED Transportation has moved quite beautifully, actually. Regular transportation, we've had our ups and downs of regular transportation. First week of school, like any other year, is chaotic. It is never a smooth transition. Some of the things that did throw a wrench into the first week of transportation, even more than changing the bus routes, was changes. We had 321 bus changes the first week of school. And what those changes do is cause chaos in the office with the drivers, with myself, and with the bus company. And it causes a lot of confusion for the children getting on the buses, knowing what bus am I supposed to be on today. So having the changed routes and the route numbers not being as familiar as they have been in the past causes a lot of problems with the first week of school. I will say though, by the end of Thursday, I was getting an email from the Macomber School telling me that I would check in with everyone, the principals, how did it go? They would tell me what was good, what was bad, what can we look into changing. She was like, it went great, other than the typical couple of students not sure of what buses were going on. We have had occasional, bus drivers saying, no, you're not on my bus, you should be on this bus, and vice versa. So I've received about 80 calls a day and about 45 emails a day, which I can probably tell you that I've probably gotten back to 95% of the people that have sent me either emails or phone calls. And Helena has helped me also returning phone calls on the people that she could make quick phone calls and get back to. We have had a lot of families pay for busing late, coming in late, which then makes our capacity of our buses very high. Just today, I met with Ameral's bus company, had 3 of their routes that we changed to make it so that Route 4 was not over capacity, because we had received a lot of complaints and there was some communication gaps between the driver and the bus company that he wasn't letting them know that he was at capacity, he was getting into school late. So I met this morning with Mr. Amaral, his staff, and Route 4's driver. We straightened it out. Tomorrow morning, they are starting Route 4, Route 8, and Route 15 will have altered their route a bit, which will help to balance out the number of students on Route 4's bus. It will help to take care of a few of the questionable stops that drivers have not been sure of what they're driving or which kids they're picking up. That call, I did a 1 call tonight that will go out to let everyone know about changes, to please go to the website, because I've reposted new updated routes on the website, which are just basically revised with all of these changes that have happened over the last week. Because our drivers right now have been driving on the routes that were given to them the Friday before school started. So since then, all of those changes and all of these new students from 7th grade through 12th have been added to those lists, and they've been manually filling them in. I still have some routes to adjust at this time. I have 3 routes that I'll be working with is 10, 11, and 14 that they're close to their maximum. I spoke to Mr. Amaral today. The capacity, a comfortable seating capacity, middle school and high school is about 55 students. For Macomber and elementary, seating capacity is about 58 to 60 students. So I am working diligently every day into the night, trying to clean up the routes, not just for the students, for them to be comfortable, for the drivers too, for the drivers to feel safe about driving that many students on their bus, to balance it out amongst everyone. Over the next 2 weeks, I hope to get to past the point of I'm worrying about the capacity and more towards the part of getting into looking at other areas, keeping the distance in mind between stops on roads to see how anything can be adjusted to help in areas that we were going into that we're not going into right now. But until I have the seating capacity straightened out and the timing down packed, hopefully will be by the end of this week, then next week I hope to tackle that next. Right now we have about 67% of our students riding. I have about 1,194 students riding and an enrollment at about 1,600. So we do have a high number of students that do ride the bus every day. Again, like I said, I did a one call regarding the 3 buses, put the routes up. Some parents I have spoken to already and told them that we've already taken care of that issue with Route 4 because it was a big question. So I had looked into that. Any questions in that
Tony?
piece of it?
Michelle, just to explain a little better in more detail exactly what those 321 changes, what that mean, what do you mean by a
The
change?
321 changes, what typically happens the beginning of the school year, kindergarten families come in, and usually the first few days of school, a lot of parents do parent drop-off, a parent pickup. What they'll do is they have a change form, which that change form is for families that are working, that need daycare, that children go to an aunt's house, a grandmother's house, if 2 family homes, because the parent lives at this address part of the time and the other address this part of the time. So I will have some changes that I have a student that 5 days out of the week is going to a different address every day or getting picked up every day. What happens there is we take into consideration that we're supplying 1 seat per child per school year. When you take a change, even if it's only a change with 3 different days or even just 2 different days, that one child now is holding up 2 seats on a school bus that we are only accounting for 1 school bus. But we still take in consideration the changes that go on, but it's for daycare, before school care, after school care, grandparents, aunts, uncles, there's a
CFC.
lot of change. CFC, they'll go to CFC, some will do parent pickup, so there's a lot of changes there. My hope for next year, to try to make the first week smooth, because this affects all of us. This does not just it affects the staff at the schools. They don't want to put a student on the wrong bus. I mean, I have Tom out there, he's on his cell phone onto mine, I've got so-and-so out here, what bus am I putting him on? So to help alleviate that, next year my hope is to send home something separate to the parents way in advance, letting them know that all changes must be in place by a certain date, and that during the first week of school, no changes will be allowed. So it kind of gives parents gives them a head start to make their arrangements early, get them to us so that the routes that I give to the drivers are actual routes. They're not being handed slips of paper saying Johnny goes to 22 Oak Ave today, or, he's only going there today. And, those drivers are facing new faces and with a slip of paper in their hand. And if we're going to talk about safety, that is just as much of a safety to me than anything, because they're having the same, those poor drivers are out there trying to get all these kids home safely. Timing has been also a problem with the changes. So you look at all of these changes that go on the first 3 days of school, and you're getting handed a different slip Tuesday, different slip Wednesday, and it's bad. It takes us, kindergarten starts the day after 1 through 12 starts. So the first day, they're a little late. Second day, when kindergarten starts to ride, we have all we can do to get the kids on the bus to come to school, then trying to get those kindergartners from what they have felt safe for 6 hours, getting them back on that bus to bring them home, it's like pulling teeth. So there's that struggle of trying to make the transition in and out of school smooth so we don't rush that transition, which means instead of leaving at 3:15, 3:30, 3:45, they're leaving, which means those kids aren't getting home until 4:30 the first week of school. And as each day adjusts and things get a little more smoother, the timing should go 10 minutes earlier each day until we can get a good handle on that.
Michael?
Yeah, I would wonder if we couldn't be charging a fee for a change. Here's a change form, and it's $50 to return it. You'd start seeing a lot less change forms.
Right.
So I think
Ms. Hawkins did mention that to me in
that
passing
will still
yesterday.
keep us under the cap that we're allowed to charge, and I think
Right,
it would help.
and going with that, back to the parent that just spoke a little while ago, at the $494,000 that we're paying for transportation, if you divide that by the number of children that we have riding, that's about $308 per student. So charging the $225 per student, we're not over the max of what we should be charging.
So Michelle, it's important for us and parents and everyone involved to keep in mind that any particular morning the bus driver gets on his bus, that route could be, I mean, he's going to have the same route, but he may have 2, 3 new
Correct.
stops. That would be a change. That wouldn't obviously affect the route after those stops, because now he's stopping. So
Exactly.
maybe Johnny's not getting off the bus at 3:30. You know, there was a change or a couple of changes on that bus. Johnny's not getting home till 3:35 or 3:40, so.
Right,
Parents-
and that mainly only happens right now. That is really the first couple of weeks of school that, until we are on a pretty consistent, and, we're pretty consistent with who's going where, and the drivers are consistent with the children that they're transporting every day, that usually, by the end of the second week, does calm down. And this was the same thing even last year.
Out of the 320 bus changes, and speaking of which, I think your one call just came in.
It did.
Because I just got one from the school. Where were those changes? Were they all predominantly at one school?
Mainly between Mac and West.
So they were all the younger kids?
They're all the
which
younger kids,
makes it
which
even
makes
harder.
right. It makes it harder because those are the families that the kids are just new. And we did have a lot of, as much as our enrollment is about the same as what it was last year, we did have a lot of late enrollments that have come in, and those play a part in it also.
And just to make a point, when we talk about changes, the changes are, between, I'm going on this route to this bus stop, not necessarily to somebody's house. It may be, like you said, it may be the bus stop that's closer to a grandparent or closer to an aunt or whoever. But 300, it's a lot. I mean, I saw the slips coming in, and
These are
yeah, the first few days there was just no way to get that information. We did try to work with the bus company, but no matter how you do it, you get the slips in one day, and people expect it to happen that same day. But the problem is, we get them, we try to get them to the bus garage. They're trying to get it to the driver who may already have gone on the route. So it's really hard to communicate it. So that's when the slip of paper comes out, and then everybody's confused, and the bus driver's going, well, I didn't get that from the office. And it's like, well, no, it just came in today. So one of the things we've been asking is to try to slow down that, I got to have this done today because, we can't, there's not enough manpower in the world, or even at the bus company, any bus company, to take care of 300 changes in 2-3 days. Yeah.
Michael?
That was Michelle, I think.
it was me. I did it.
Did you want to go first? No,
No, go
okay.
ahead.
Yeah, I'm very concerned. My concern points to safety. I personally would like to see photo ID in that pile of change forms. I don't like what I'm hearing. I'm also learning of concerns throughout the community in terms of the demographics, perhaps, and the population that we have. So I would immediately ask that further change forms include a photo ID of some kind, because I wouldn't want a driver to be responsible unless he knew the face that was with that change form.
Well, something that we did do, as far as not so much as for the change form, because the parents do need to sign it, and it has to be an original, it can't be a copy. I did some research. I spoke to Fairhaven, I spoke to Dartmouth, and this was basically regarding the door-to-door pickup for, not necessarily door-to-door, but the K through second grade, dropping off children K through second grade, is that what some of the other districts do is they have a form ahead of time that says who are the children, who are the guardians or parents or adults that are allowed to take that child off the bus. What they do is they do it ahead of time. They have that form filled out, a picture of their ID, they attach it to it, that goes to the bus drivers. So it gives the bus drivers a chance to look over that to say, I know who's going to be picking up. I will say, a lot in Westport, a lot of the families, if they have someone else different picking up their child, they will make sure that that bus driver makes the relationship with a face at some point in time before it does happen. So that is something that, you know, I did, when calling a couple of the other districts, I did look at that, you know, to see if that would do it. A lot of the changes that are made are done face-to-face. We do have some that come through email that will go directly to the school, to the schools. They, a lot of times, will touch base with families verbally on the phone of who the parent was that sent it. So, you know, I mean, that could be something we could look at and see how that goes.
Might
As
suggest
far
the
as-
policy committee might want to add that to the next meeting. So,
Carolina,
but thank you.
I know